The graffiti and street art we see today may not be useful to future historians, and we cannot be sure if the street art we see today will survive for centuries to come. However, a discovery made in Italy in 2018 has revealed the startling truth about Pompeii. Pompeii was a thriving city of around 20,000 people situated near the Bay of Naples in Italy. It was overlooked by Mount Vesuvius, and it was the eruption of this volcano in 79 AD that has helped to cement Pompeii's place in the history books. Prior to the eruption, Pompeii was a popular vacation spot for wealthy families from across Rome. Pompeii was made up of elegant villas and paved streets where visitors could relax within a range of amenities. However, life in the shadow of Mount Vesuvius was ominous, and the volcano had a fearsome reputation. It had been intermittently spouting lava for generations prior to 79 AD. One particularly explosive eruption came in around 1780 BC, and it was then that Mount Vesuvius detonated millions of tons of ash, rocks, and lava 22 miles into the atmosphere. It is thought that the resulting debris demolished every settlement within a 15-mile radius. Nevertheless, life in that sunny part of Italy proved too tempting to resist, and so many people flocked to the region, even after that devastating episode. In the years leading up to the eruption that destroyed Pompeii, there were apparently signs of the catastrophe that awaited. In particular, a huge earthquake that occurred in the region in 63 AD is now reckoned to have signaled the inevitable danger. Regardless, people were seemingly drawn to the area anyway, and the population continued to boom. Then, just 16 years after that foreboding tremor, Mount Vesuvius erupted once more, and this time volcanic materials were sent soaring so high that they could apparently be seen several hundred miles away. One of the most enduring accounts of the eruption comes from the writer Pliny the Younger, who watched the whole thing unfold from a distance. In the years after the eruption, Pliny described a cloud of unusual size and appearance. He added that the smoke resembled a pine tree, for it rose to a great height on a sort of trunk, and then split off into branches. In places, it looked white. Elsewhere, it was blotched and dirty. Meanwhile, in the days that followed the initial eruption, the masses of rock Vesuvius had emitted began to rain down. The final blow came with a pyroclastic surge, a rapid release of toxic gas, and fragmentized rock that rushed down the mountain and buried Pompeii. Today, historians believe that 2,000 people lost their lives in the wake of the eruption. Pompeii itself was buried some 20 feet below the ground and was forgotten for centuries. Then in 1748, the city was discovered again, and as Pompeii was excavated, it became evident that the ashes that had caused its downfall had also preserved the location for centuries. Thanks to this extraordinary form of natural conservation, archaeologists were provided with a unique insight into the Roman way of life. Pompeii had once boasted well-preserved buildings, paved streets, and works of art. It seemed everyday items, such as bread and jars of fruit, were also found intact. But among the most fascinating and harrowing discoveries were the remains of the city's former inhabitants. While excavating Pompeii, archaeologists occasionally found gaps in the ash, and in the 1860s, Giuseppe Fiorelli realized that these holes had been left after the bodies of those who had perished had decomposed. It was then that he had a masterstroke by forcing plaster into the apertures. Exact models of these people in their final moments could be created. The remains of Pompeii have proved invaluable in understanding Roman life at that time. In particular, the city's level of preservation has helped give us excellent insights into both that area of Italy and the people who once existed there. It may come as little surprise then that Pompeii was declared a World Heritage Site by UNESCO in 1997. Perhaps among the most enlightening finds at Pompeii is the graffiti that reveals the broadly forgotten language of Vulgar Latin spoken colloquially. The dialect is said to have been less standardized than Classical Latin. What's more, Vulgar Latin is actually thought to be at the root of modern languages such as Italian, French, Spanish, Portuguese, and Romanian. While the sheer amount of graffiti in Pompeii was noticed from the off, archaeologists didn't necessarily rush to analyze the dubbings. Indeed, it seems that the archaeological community once took a stance that the study of the city's elite should be given prior authority, and the elite, it was assumed, were not those who would willingly deface walls. However, this notion appears to be rather outdated. Nowadays, historians also examine graffiti to learn more about those who came from more marginalized groups. Graffiti is often produced very spontaneously, with less thought than Virgil. According to Claire Taylor, an epic poetry professor specializing in Greek history at Trinity College in Ireland, studying Pompeii's graffiti offers a new perspective on ancient society. Taylor's research suggests that Emperor Nero was more popular than previously believed, although his reputation suffered a decline after he mistreated his pregnant wife. One surprising finding from the study of graffiti in Pompeii is how the Romans used it to spread joy and goodwill. The inhabitants of Pompeii expressed their well wishes for the entire town through graffiti, using phrases like "Feliciter Pompeii," to wish everyone well. Archaeological excavations in 2018 have expanded our understanding of Pompeii. During these excavations, a charcoal scroll was discovered in a room in the region known as the Gov section of Pompeii. Experts believe the inscription on the scroll was made by someone renovating the home shortly before the eruption of Vesuvius. This finding challenged the previously held belief that Pompeii was destroyed on August 24, 79 AD, as recorded in Pliny's letters, the only known eyewitness accounts of the disaster. The graffiti suggested a later date for the eruption, possibly October 24, 79 AD. The discrepancy in dates may be due to Pliny writing his account 2 decades after the eruption, with varying dates in different translations. Italian Minister of Culture Alberto Bonassoli described the graffiti as an extraordinary discovery during his official visit to Pompeii. Excavations in the Regio V area also uncovered 2 opulent houses with frescoes and a room believed to be a larium where families honored their gods. In the same month as the graffiti discovery, skeletons of 2 women and 3 children were found huddled together in a house, indicating they sought shelter from the eruption, but were tragically trapped inside. Pompeii, being one of Italy's most popular tourist attractions, faces threats of erosion, light exposure, wildlife, theft, vandalism, pollution, and the impacts of tourism. To address these issues, the European Union has funded preservation efforts to protect the site for future generations. In conclusion, Pompeii continues to offer valuable insights into ancient Rome, and ongoing research and conservation efforts aim to preserve its integrity for years to come. Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more updates.